Hi, hello. Today we are going to work on a recursive type issue, and as you know, well, this is a just code session, so it will be just raw and a little bit lengthy. It's a stream. So the issue we have here is, I was working on the Just Web and at the States project, and over there I'm using immer, and as I'm trying to wrap up the change I need for 4.0, like as I mentioned last time, I ran into this problem. Which is a recursive type issue. So the problem is in the bug that you see here. This is using the immer produce function directly. And in my case, it's a little bit different. It's a wrap around and do something else, but the problem we have is the same. So the issue is related to using the produce with the JSON object. In this case, the reporter, Peter, I guess, yes, is using type fast, and for myself, I'm using type plus. I wrote it. So over here, the problem is really, I mentioned already over here, is that the JSON type in type plus and the JSON object in type fast is basically they are the same or very similar, and they are both a recursive type by itself, because as the JSON object, so we can see if well, we can go there. Let's see. We go there. Yep, we can. So over here, see if I can find a JSON file. If I can, I just switch it back to the type plus. So JSON object. So over here, you can see that this JSON object is using JSON value, and then the JSON value is using JSON object itself, right? So it's a recursive nature, and in TypeScript it allows you to do that, to properly type any kind of JSON object, right? Or in general, any kind of recursive structure, right? So that is correct. That is the right way to describe the JSON object. But the problem is inside the produce function is using this draft T. So this draft type, it is also kind of is a recursive type by itself. So when this recursive type try to solve the type T, which is also a recursive type, it gets into an infinite loop. So in this video, we are going to solve that problem, and I have actually already solved it. I'm just going to show you how it looks like, and hope you will enjoy it. So without further ado, let's get started. So for one thing is I didn't really set up the intro screen for this video, so there's no intro. So let me go straight to the implementation. Okay, so here this is the draft T. Okay, so the draft T is using this writable draft when the type is extended object. So before that, if it is primitive type, it just return type T, right? If it is atomic object, if other more complex type like map, set, and weak reference, it will do something else. But when it is just objects, it's using this writable draft. And in this writable draft, what it does is remove the read-only attribute. So let me show you. So I have written a test over here, and in the test right now I have it coming out, and so if I uncomment it out, you can see that the problem occurs, right, when I just use the JSON type. So you can see over here, the JSON type, the way I describe it is just this. It's basically pretty similar to the typefast version. So it has a primitive object or array, and if there's an object, it can have any properties of JSON type, so it's recursive. The same thing for array. So over here, this has this problem. So how to solve it? The problem we have really is for when the T is the object type. So over here, since the type, this is just a generic type, there's no restriction of what it is. So this T can be anything, including objects, including primitive type, and including other types. Right. So what I need to do to fix this issue is to saying that if T extends, say, let's keep it simple first. Object, then I will recursive in. If not, I will just do that. Right, so if I do that, oh, no. So, yeah, that's why that's the problem. It's T of K, the object. So once I say that the value is an object, I will go back to do the recursive type. If not, I will skip it and just do the primitive, right? Because I know I don't need to do anything. So with that, you can see the problem is solved, right? So yeah, so would it work for all these other things? The answer is yes, because when it is an object, which this will be also the case, it go back to the draft. So the draft will take care of these other cases, so we will be covered. So over here, we don't have to do the same thing like this to repeat the same logic and then do the draft, because it's already taken care by the draft type itself. So that's it. So that is the fixed, right? That's all we have over here. The other things, maybe as a bonus, as I'm working on this project, I noticed a few things. Number one is I made an adjustment to the VS Code settings so that it used the prettier as the default formatter, because that's what the project uses. You can see that there's a prettier setting over here, but say for myself, right, for a contributor like myself, I don't use prettier by default. So my formatter by default is not prettier. By default, I was using the basic, the default TypeScript and JavaScript language feature formatter. So when I press Ctrl+Shift+F over here, then I mess up the formatting of the file, which of course is an open source project, and I don't want to change that. So I add these functions to, well, these settings, so that we don't have that problem. And then another thing I noticed is over here, when I try to run the test, run the build, it doesn't work in Windows, because right now here I'm working within Windows. So you can see that if I do yarn build over here, this all failed because it's using ln, using ext, execute, pwd, or some other stuff. I haven't really looked into what's the actual scripts are, right? Over here, using the TSDX and so on. And it seems like it doesn't work in Windows, at least not in Windows with new shell. So that's one thing. That's not something that I can fix easily, so I just leave it as is. And what I have to do is I get into WSL and build it from there. And then another thing I noticed, it have all this circular dependencies warning. This probably is created by, my guess is this TSDX. This is a problem, and I think, in my opinion, this should be fixed. But of course, not within this PR. And to fix this, the references need to be updated to avoid these circular references, because if not, with this circular references in, it might cause problems when other projects try to use this project and reference those types, because depends on how it gets referenced. Sometimes it will get undefined because the first pass within the circular dependencies is undefined first before the second pass it will able to actually resolve the right type, and that could happen in the consumer land. And so this, in my opinion, need to be fixed. And another thing is when I run the test, there are 8 test failure. I was puzzled a little bit at the beginning, because over here you can see that I haven't really changed much, and the only thing I change is about type, and the test over here is mostly, they are all just JavaScript test. So my change should not cause any any test failure. And as it turns out, is the latest PR that get merged introduced those errors. So I place a comment over there in that PR, and hopefully that will be fixed soon. And yeah, but for this PR, I will just leave it as is and put in. And the last thing is, yes, I include type plus as a def dependencies, so that I can use the JSON type and also use the is type. The JSON type I can, so to speak, just repeat it over here for the test, so that I don't have to use the type plus, adding additional def dependency into the project. But using this is kind of useful to do the test. But if the author of the immer doesn't want to have the additional def dependencies, I can happily just remove it. I just need to change the test a little bit so that it doesn't do this type level check. So that's it. That's what I want to cover for this video, and hope you enjoyed this, hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Bye.